According to Yahoo's Q's and A's, when is the right time to get married and have kids?
Do you think there's an ideal age to get married or decide to start a family, or is it all about how you feel, if you're ready, or your partner's situation?
Alright.
We're here with Lorraine Klein discussing the right time to get married and start a family.
What was the common age to have your first child when you were growing up?
Oh, I was 21.
Was it harder to have and support a family when you had your kids?
Well, yes. My husband was killed. We'd been married about 14 months, and I had a 5-month-old baby. And I had to move back to Deer Island. And I never had no sport, but I did after a while. I kept running for the veterans.
In your opinion, what would be the right time to get married or start a family?
25 or 30 years old.
And that was Lorraine Klein and her opinion on having a family.
In 1900, Professor Walter Wilcox of Cornell University reached a conclusion that there has been a steady decline in births in the U.S. since 1860. In the 1900s, the amount of children was only 2/3 as great in the cities as in the country.
Most marriages during the early 1900s involved considerations of property and family alliances. Aristocratic families could increase the wealth through a child's marriage. During the early 1900s, a sexual revolution took place. Premarital intercourse became more common, which changed ideas about marriage.
According to Babycenter.com, 11% of people voted that the early 20s was the best time to get married and start a family. 35% for the mid-20s, 35% also for the late 20s, 17% for the early 30s, 2% for the mid-30s, 1% for the late 30s, and 0% for the early 40s. Tallied from 52,382 votes.
We're here with Jana on Deer Island getting her opinion on the right time to get married and have kids.
How old were you when you had your first kid?
21.
Was that a common age to have kids at the time?
No, younger.
Oh. In your opinion, what would be a good time to get married or start a family?
I'm thinking around 21.
Okay.
And that's her opinion on getting married and starting a family.
From 1970 to 1996, the marriage rate fell from 77 to 50 marriages per 1,000 unmarried women.
From 1960 to 1980, divorce rates increased from 9 to 23% of married couples.
Births to unmarried women increased from 11 to 33% of all births from 1976 to 1994 and leveled off in 1999.
Nationally, 1.3 million children are born out of wedlock each year. We're here with Sheldon Sims getting his opinion on when the right time to get married and start a family.
What do you think about teen pregnancy?
I think it's unnecessary because it can be prevented in so many ways.
What do you think of your family having an influence on who you date and marry?
They never did because I didn't grow up that way.
When do you think the right time would be to get married and start a family?
When you're ready and to have a steady job to support your family.
And that was Sheldon and his opinion on getting married and starting a
In
family.
the 1830s and the Depression, births, marriages, and divorce rates fell as desertion, domestic violence, and homelessness became more common.
The Warriors also had a factor in the rising of marriage rates, which led to the baby boom.
By 1950, the average age for the first marriage had become 22 for men and 20 for women. In the 1980s, it was 26 for men and 22 for women.
In 1950 and 60s included the 20th century's highest teenage pregnancy rate. We're here with Angela Johnson getting her opinion on getting married and starting a family.
How long have you been married for?
Almost 21 years.
How long were you married before you had your first kid?
3 years. Yeah, 3.5.
What do you think the best time would be for starting a family or getting married?
I don't know. I think it's different for everybody, really. It's whenever you're... Maybe a lot of people these days are kind of career-oriented, and they like to get a career started first, but... So I guess it just depends on the individual.
That was Angela and her opinion on getting married and starting a family.
In 1990, there were an estimated to be 1 million births from the age of 15 to 19 years. These rates come from the sum of live births and legal induced abortions.
For example, in 1990 in North Dakota, pregnancy rates ranged from 56.4 per 1,000 women from 15 to 19.
The tabulations were calculated mainly by race and eligibility for abortions. Pregnancy and birth rates were generally high for blacks, then for Hispanics and whites.
From 1980 to 1990, pregnancy rates declined significantly in 21 of 40 states. However, in 14 of the 21 decreased less than 10%. During the decade, the rates of pregnancy increased in 12 states, and in 6 of those reported an increase of more than 10%.
And Yahoo's best answer, it really doesn't matter how much in love someone is. It's all about being mature and being ready financially and having it together before you marry.
Being in love counts, but being ready financially and being mature counts more. When you look around you, some folks around you are older and not ready. Age is indeed just a number.
Lonely, call me anytime at all. I'll be there with you, always, anywhere at all.
We're here at Tim Hortons in St. Andrews. We're gonna go interview these unsuspecting people.
We're here doing a project from school, and we'd like to know when you think the right time to get married and have kids is.
25.
And there you have it, folks.
So, Acacia, when do you think the right time would be to get married and have kids?
I think the right time is between 25 and 30 if you're ready to support a family.
So, Renee, when do you think the right time to get married and start a family is? I think the late 20s when you have a good job and you can support your family.
There we go.
My daughter was 16 when she got pregnant on purpose. She loved her boyfriend. She wanted somebody to love. And it lasted a few years. They had 2 kids together. And now she is 36. And she has 4 kids. And she's a grandmother at 36. And she was on drugs for years. Still made everything possible to look after her kids, believe it or not, doing some very unseen things. And now she has been 6 years clean from drugs, and she is working in a coal mine in Alberta. She has bought her own house, paid for, in Grand Cash, a $50,000 truck, her own, paid for, drug tested all the time at work, and she has bought her daughter, who just had our big granddaughter, her granddaughter, home in Hinton.
Wow.
So, I'll tell you, if you look on my computer picture screen that I got for Mother's Day, you will see the most beautiful, happiest kids in the friggin' world. And I never thought it would be possible. So I needed to say that. So there really isn't an age limit. It's from the heart. And also if your parents can support you when everything is against you and you want to die. Never give up.
Is that it?
And look what I got back.
Thank you.
Okay, that's a wrap.